Hello students, welcome to the online classes of chemistry. In this video, we'll study the chapter Metals and Nonmetals. There are about 118 elements which are broadly classified as metals, nonmetals and metalloids on the basis of their properties. More than 80 elements are metals. Most of them occur in the Earth's crust in the combined state as compounds, such as oxides, carbonates, sulfates, chlorides, and nitrates. Such metals are extracted for use from their naturally occurring compounds by different methods. Very few non-reactive or noble metals such as gold and platinum exist in the native or free state. Only about 18 elements are considered to be non-metals. However, non-metals and their compounds make up most of the Earth's crust and the tissues of the living organisms. Some nonmetals such as hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and the noble gases occur both in the native or free state and in the combined form. The other nonmetals occur mainly as compounds. Now we'll study the physical properties of metals and nonmetals. Metals and nonmetals differ from each other in their physical properties. A few common physical properties on the basis of which we can classify materials as metals and nonmetals are physical state. So all the metals exist as solid at room temperature except mercury. Most nonmetals such as hydrogen, nitrogen, chlorine, argon and oxygen exist as gases. A few nonmetals like sulfur and phosphorus exist as solids. Bromine is the only nonmetal that exists as a liquid at room temperature. The next property is luster. Most metals have a metallic luster, that is, they shine when the light falls on them. Gold, chromium, and nickel are the most lustrous metals. Some metals like copper, iron, and aluminium become dull with time, but when freshly cut, they have shine of their own. Most nonmetals do not have any luster. They are dull. Some examples are phosphorus and sulfur. Now the next property is color. Most metals are white, grey or silver in color like iron, aluminium, mercury and silver. Gold is yellow and copper is reddish brown in color. Nonmetals, on the other hand, can be colorless like hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen, or they are brightly colored like sulfur is of yellow color, iodine is of purple color and bromine is of brown color. Now the next property is hardness. Most metals like iron, copper, lead and platinum are hard. The degree of hardness varies from metal to metal. However, sodium and potassium are metals that are very soft and can be cut easily with a knife. Non-metals are usually soft except diamond. Diamond is the hardest known substance on the Earth's crust. Now the next property is strength. Most metals are strong and can bear a lot of force or strain. Iron is one of the strongest metals, usually non-metals are not strong. They are brittle and they break when force is applied on them. The next property is sonority. Metals that are hard make a sound when hit or struck. This property of metals by which they make a sound when hit is called sonority. Bells are made from metals or their alloys because they are sonorous. Non-metals, on the other hand, are non-sonorous. Density. Most metals are heavy and have a high density. Lead and iron have a high density. Aluminium has comparatively a low density. Sodium and potassium have a very low densities and they can float on water. Compared to metals, non-metals have low densities and they are light. Now the next property we'll study is melting and boiling points. Most metals have high melting and boiling points. For example, iron melts at around 1500 degrees Celsius. However, a few metals like gallium have a low melting point and can melt when kept on your palm. Non-metals have comparatively low melting and boiling points. For example, the melting point of sulfur is about 115 degrees Celsius. Thermal conductivity. Most metals like copper, iron, aluminium are good conductors of heat. They allow the heat to pass through them. A few metals like mercury and lead are not very good conductors of heat. Non-metals do not allow heat to pass through them and they are poor conductors of heat. Electrical conductivity. Metals are good conductor of electricity. Silver is the best conductor of electricity. Copper and aluminium are also very good conductors of electricity. Non-metals are usually poor conductors of electricity. Graphite is a form of carbon, is the only non-metal that is a good conductor of electricity. Malleability. Most metals are malleable. The ability of metals to be pressed into thin sheets is called malleability. Iron, copper, aluminium, gold, and silver are some metals that are malleable. However, metals such as sodium and potassium that are soft are not malleable. Non-metals are not malleable. They cannot be pressed into sheets. The next property is ductility. Most metals are ductile. The ability of metals to be drawn or stretched into wires is called ductility. Silver, copper, aluminium, gold, and iron are some metals that are ductile. The soft metals like sodium and potassium are not ductile. Non-metals cannot be drawn into wires and thus are non-ductile. In the next video, we'll continue with the chapter Metals and Non-Metals. Thank you. God bless you.